Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to make a few remarks tonight in response to President Uhuru Kenyatta's State of the Nation address, which he gave to both houses of parliament recently. I do this as a committed citizen of this great Republic of Kenya, but also as an aspiring fifth president come the next election. We need to give credit where it is deserved. And I think President Uhuru Kenyatta and his government have done some tremendous work to bring Kenya to where it is today. Some great economic strides, some great strides in health, great strides in education, great strides certainly in all manners of infrastructure. So much so that Kenya has grown to become a great economic hub of the region. But I must hasten to add that this was also one of the most disappointing State of the Nation's addresses. Not because President Uhuru Kenyatta has failed as a president to deliver in terms of economy, health, education, and so many other wonderful developments. Not because the Jubilee government has failed in everything. Oh, no. I must really commend the president for the great strides of bringing our nation to where it is today. In fact, if elected as the fifth president of Kenya, it would be my single honor and privilege to be able to build on some of what President Uhuru Kenyatta has started. I would love to go beyond just constructing schools and ensure that those schools are equipped with water and electricity and with teachers. I would love to go beyond just erecting buildings that serve as dispensaries, health centers, or hospitals. I would love to see such health facilities equipped with medicines and medical equipment, and that we can hire doctors to be able to serve our people more effectively. So there are many areas where we can build on the legacy of President Uhuru Kenyatta. But I was greatly disappointed because there was so much that that State of the Nation address did not say. There was so much left out. There was so much hidden from us. There was so much that was covered up. And that is what I would like to briefly highlight now. Let me begin with something that the president said at the beginning of his address. He said, Kenya is greater than any of us. True, Kenya is greater than all of us. But when we say Kenya, we are not referring to ports, expressways, windmills, and dams. We're not referring to farms or airports or railway lines. By Kenya, we mean the people of Kenya, the people of this great country, jobless men and women, hungry children, citizens evicted from their homes in places such as Mukuru Kwanjenga in order to pave way for a road network. When we say Kenya is great, we are referring to people from northern Kenya, people from Mandera, people from Isiolo, who have lost their livestock, who have lost their children, who have lost their wives, who have lost their husbands, who have lost their homes, who have lost their property in the name of conservancy. So yes, Kenya is great, but by Kenya, we mean the people. The second thing I would like to comment on is the measures taken and the progress made in the realization of our national values as defined by Article 10 of the Constitution. Indeed, the President was right when he said that the Constitution in Article 132 mandates the President to report to a special joint sitting of both houses of Parliament on measures taken and progress made in the realization of our national values as defined by Article 10 of the Constitution of Kenya. Now, this is something very close to my heart because Article 10, titled National Values and Principles of Governance, binds all state organs, state officers, public officers, and all persons whenever any of them applies or interprets the Constitution or even makes laws or takes decisions for us in government. With this obligation assigned to the President, we expected him to report on two things. One, the measures taken, and two, progress made in the realization of our national values. The president talked a lot about development programs from when he took over in 2013, but hardly talked about the values enshrined in Article 10. So what did we expect him to report on? It would have been wonderful for the president to report on the national values and principles of governance, which include patriotism, national unity, sharing and devolution of power, the rule of law, democracy, and participation of the people. I expected him to report on that. We expected him to report on what the government has done to promote human dignity, equity, social justice, inclusiveness, equality, human rights, non-discrimination, and the protection of the marginalized. I really expected him to do that. Also, according to Article 10, he should have addressed what his government has done to achieve good governance, integrity, transparency, and accountability. We all know that the failure of taking Article 10 seriously and read together with Chapter 6 of our Constitution, as well as the Bill of Rights, is the reason why our country is one of the most corrupt nations on the continent of Africa, if not in the world. That is why we live under impunity. That is why we do not observe the law. That is why we are who we are today, because of neglecting the values that define who we are as a nation. Instead, the president dwelt on the last clause of the article, that is Article 10(2)(d), which talks about sustainable development. And looking at the projects, one may even ask whether some of them are really sustainable. It is my considered opinion that sustainable development cannot be achieved without a focus on the national values that drive us as a people. The third thing I would like to quickly focus on is what the president called the pandemic as a danger or opportunity. In other words, it depends on how you took the pandemic. The danger of the pandemic we understand. The threat to our economy by the pandemic we understand. The destruction of our lives by the pandemic we understand. But I found it very difficult to understand what the president meant by opportunities in the pandemic. Indeed, it would even seem a little odd for me for the president to be talking about opportunities in the pandemic when our country has a lot of questions about what happened during this pandemic. While a company like Revital from the coast can be commended for seizing the opportunity to become one of the largest exporters of syringes in Africa, I can tell you for sure that there are many questions about what happened to the rest of the investment in the health sector during this COVID period. The ink has not dried on the KEMSA billionaires whom the president promised to bring to book, arrest, charge, or whatever the case may be. Instead, what we have seen is the sacking of junior staff at KEMSA instead of arresting the people that were responsible. With so much lost in the KEMSA scandal, with so many lives lost, with so many health workers endangered, with so many families mourning and crying because of the losses in their homes, there is a Minister for Health, CS Health, still in office. There are people at KEMSA that have not been touched. I expected the president to touch on this. The private sector became one of the most responsible sectors in this country. They raised a lot of money. We know that the international community gave a lot of money to help us mitigate against the pandemic. We know that there was so much given to counties in order to take care of the pandemic. We were told about more beds being bought in the county hospitals. We were told about quarantine centers. We were told so much about mitigation. But all of that ended up in nothing but looting. The president did not talk about that. Yes, the president talked about a lot of growth. The GDP has grown. Yes, tax collection and revenue has gone up. Yes, we know that Kenya has expanded in infrastructure. But what the president failed to tell us was, what did these grand projects cost? What did it cost to put up the SGR? Who signed for the SGR? Where are the contracts? What are we supposed to pay in order to have the SGR? What was the cost of the expressway? What was the cost of the Lamu port? What was the cost behind all these projects? In other words, yes, they are grand, but we know that a lot of looting, a lot of stealing has gone into these contracts. And the president did not address any of that. In fact, he did not address anything to do with graft, except to giggle about it a few times. So I was disappointed. The president did not address the debt crisis and how we are going to pay back all these borrowed monies. The president did not certainly address the Pandora leaks. The president did not address the more than 2 million Kenyans starving in the north. The president did not address the issue of conservancy. The president did not address police brutality. The president did not address how, as a country, we are so divided. The president did not address how Parliament has failed to pass critical legislations. The president did not address how the courts have failed to deliver justice quickly. Instead, he ended up lamenting about a failed BBI. I mean, honestly. And he says a few people sat in a back room somewhere and decided to rule against BBI. Honestly, I am disappointed. And he ended up even saying that we have been in a constitutional moment since 2017. That is a lie. That is not true. Instead, we are face to face with blatant impunity and lack of accountability and people literally refusing to obey court orders. We have an attorney general that is so keen on defending the executive. My friends, I was very disappointed. But as a citizen of this great country, I must say that perhaps the most disappointing thing that I can think about in view of all that the president shared and all we have been through during the Jubilee regime is lack of the fear of God. We make promises. We carry the Bible. And we say, so help me God. We say we will be faithful to the people. We will serve. We will be faithful to the Constitution. And we say, so help me God. Friends, I fear. I tremble. I am afraid that the wrath of God may be visited upon this country. Not so much because we are bad investors, not so much because we are so backward, but because we do not fear God. And so we make promises. We even lie blatantly in the name of God. My plea would be that we turn around and realize that we are here for such a time as this to make a difference for the people of Kenya. God bless you. And God bless Kenya.